afternoon, beloveds. Whew, yeah. I'm having one of those, I don't know, Saturday afternoons. We are here to do EMMA CURTIS HOPKINS. So we'll do a little housekeeping first. The main housekeeping being, let me remind you that I'm doing this for Creative Life Spiritual Web. Creative Life Spiritual Center. The website is creativelife.org. The constant contact email, info@creativelife.org. Each one email a week tells you what's going on for the week and the month, and the hot links are hot. So, click here now means it. It will take you right to the information or the person that can help you get it. It is also a blind CC, so nobody will see your email. We won't end up on anybody else's email list because of us. And when I say one a week, I mean that. It is a real person doing it. He doesn't have time for more than that. The only reason you get more than one is if something unusual happens. At which point, I will point out, we do live on the Gulf Coast. It is hurricane season, and we've had 2 tropical storms come right across our nose. Fortunately, outside of a little street flooding along the Gulf Coast, we've been okay. We've enjoyed the extra rain because, next week, the temperatures are going to be 100 degrees, between 100 and 102 all week. Yeah. Thankfully, we have air conditioning and ceiling fans. So, there is that. Now, I also want to mention the social media, but I mentioned the social media because we do not monetize the social media. We don't want to deal with the ads any more than you do. So what we ask you to do instead is go like, subscribe, follow based on which platform you're on, and then engage with the individual post by reacting to the post, commenting on the post, sharing the post. It bumps us in the algorithms. More people see our stuff. So it's a free and easy way that you can support the center by getting our stuff in front of more people. And we are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark. And then I'm the running Rev Ryan across the social medias that I'm on. So there's that. Now, let's talk about EMMA CURTIS HOPKINS. EMMA CURTIS HOPKINS is the teacher of teachers. She started out in Christian Science with Mary Baker Eddy. And she ran Mary Baker Eddy's magazine for a little while. And then she had ideas and Mary Baker Eddy didn't agree with her. So Mary Baker Eddy said, you're out. And so she moved, a few, like a state over. I think she went to Chicago, from New England. She went to Chicago, set up a shingle and said, hey, I'm a Christian Scientist. And from there became the teacher of teachers. If you don't know who she taught the Brick sisters, from Divine Science, who ordained Ernest Holmes. She taught the Fillmores, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, who started Unity. She also taught Ernest Holmes. Ever so briefly, he got 1 week towards the end of her life, and she did very much influence him. So, and she is still teaching the teachers today. She's interesting. I've read Christian Science Mental Practice. I've even done it live on here, so that, you can go to the YouTube channel. Either the Running Rev Ryan or the Creative Life YouTube channel, and look for the playlist, and you can see I read the book to you, because I heard that, 1, I had to read the book anyway, and 2, I heard that the other person who had done it on YouTube was boring, and I was like, well, I can promise I won't be boring. So, and I always envisioned her as, I understand she was very small. She was tiny. And so I always kind of envisioned her as this very dour woman. I mean, you can see the picture, as very dour. And, she would poke her finger in your chest and tell you like it is, or grab you up by the lapels and tell you like it is. And, so I'm glad that I opted, because I thought I'd read this book before. I had not, because I couldn't find a copy. I'm glad that I've read this book, because 1, I've discovered 2 things about her. 1, she has a wicked sense of humor. As you're reading through this, you see flashes of it. Now, obviously, she's dealing with very serious subject matter, I don't want to say heavy subject matter, but serious subject matter, mystical subject matter. And mystical subject matter is hard to convey, because the language really doesn't keep up to it. So you've seen flashes of a rather wicked sense of humor in here, especially, with the poetry. And I don't know if she wrote the poetry or if she's quoting people, because, clearly 150 years ago, they didn't cite their sources because everybody knew the sources. So, 150 years later, we're going, where did she get that? But the other thing that I've discovered that I love about her is one of her favorite words is buoyancy. Buoyancy. Now, here's why I love the word. One, it's just fun to say. Buoyancy. It's just, it's a bouncy word. But it's also uplifting. It's literally what buoyancy means. Uplifting. Like the buoyancy of a boat in the water, the buoyancy of a balloon in the air. It's uplifting. She uses the word a lot, and it's really incredible. So, I've got 3 chapters left. We're going to do chapter 10 today. And in doing this book, those are the 2 things that I've learned about Emma that I didn't know. There is a wicked sense of humor in there. There is. And I think one of her favorite words is buoyancy. So that is my gift to you about Emma. I've always enjoyed Emma, even though apparently I've only read the 1 book. I do have kind of a bucket list mission to eventually collect all of her books and possibly read all of her books, because they're not out there in the public domain. I think they are. I think for a lot of them are, out of print, out of copyright. But because I think she's still relevant in a way that people may not know. And so I want to make sure that her work is out there, that there is somebody out there reading it who has a sense of humor, who sees the sense of humor that she has. Am I doing her justice? Absolutely not. But I'm giving it my best shot. So I hope you're along for the ride. All right, so let's get on with chapter 10. The first 6 chapters had titles. The last 6 chapters, she always does things in 12s. It's just an Emma thing. The last 6 chapters are titled Ministry. Here's how to put them in practice, is what she's saying. Here's how to put the first 6 lessons into practice. And so what I've been trying to do is, once I read the chapter, because I haven't read the chapter yet, you and I are learning to read it together, which is one of the reasons why when I realized there was a printing error last week, it sounds weird because it kept looking like 1. It wasn't a 1, it was an I, but it looked like a 1. So I was confused. So the first part of you'll see where I make the realization of, oh, okay. So, that chapter's a little weird, but I'm going to let it ride because it is what it is. Right. So once I read the chapter, then I'll kind of see if I can give it a title where it gives you a better idea of what she's talking about in this ministry. But even then, I won't do it justice, because she's just in these chapters. She's just really all over the place. Like she had a lot to say, and the language, as I said, doesn't keep up with her. It just doesn't. Because that's the problem with mysticism. Many other art mediums are better at conveying a mystical experience than language. So she's absolutely doing the best she can, and we just have to go along for the ride. So, all right. So we are going to do chapter 10 in the ministry. Chapter 10, Ministry in High Mysticism by Emma Curtis Hopkins. 10 is the number of the light. It is the Sephiroth giving birth to everything. Okay, let's start with the fact that the Sephiroth is the tree of life in the Kabbalah, which you will also hear called Kibbalah, depending on where we've always called it Kabbalah, and then I took a class and learned that no, we're pronouncing it wrong. It's actually Kibbalah. So, but The Sephiroth is the tree of life in the Kabbalah. So, 10 is the number of the light. It is the Sephiroth giving birth to everything. 10 is the number of the Memra, the secret word of the mystic self, the hidden knower in us all, waiting bold, definite speech to coincide till the without shall be with the within. 10 is the I, Jehovah self, providing. I, Jehovah, Jehira, Jehovah Nissi, Jehovah Tised Kenu. I, the sanctuary in the midst of thee, in all places, whithersoever thou goest. I, the secret word, the secret warrior, the secret music. I, that being declared, and none else. Show thee hidden riches of secret places. Aristotle, BC 384, found that there are but 10 ideas in the world, as there are but 10 numbers. All the religions and philosophies and reasonings of the world but ring the changes on 10 ideas, as all the mathematical calculations in the world ring the changes on 10 numbers. Okay, you know what? Side note, I'm not terribly sure about sacred geometry, but in the Tarot, 10 is the number of completion. It is the end and the beginning of the next level. So, with 10 words was the world built, reads the Zen Avesta. The ancient Hebrews declared that Yod, the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, is key to the divine language, sometime to come forth from the I, hidden humanity of the heart, angels, authorities, and powers then to exhibit themselves as forever subject unto that divine language. Only one 10 character has ever yet appeared on this earth. Notice him saying, all power is given unto me. I have overcome the world. 10 is the rose of the world coming into bloom. 10 is the wonderful mother, desire of all nations, secret of protecting love. 10 is symbol of resurrection, and the people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. Make note of the key speech of the hidden light. I am the Lord. I change not. I give power. I take away power. I give power to death. I take away the power of death. I give power to defeat, danger, deafness, disease. I take away the power of defeat, danger, deafness, disease. All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Here I'll raise my Ebenezer, my rock eternal. I, the Lord, that change not. I consulted with myself, said Nehemiah, and I rebuked the nobles and the rulers. I had given power to nobles and rulers. I took that power back to myself, and the nobles and the rulers obeyed me. I have overcome the world. It is plain to be seen that all who are giving power to death, deficiency, death, debt, have not spoken from their memra, their secret Lord word, rebuking such nobles and rulers. Notice that it is I being declared, and none else, that take away the power of those rulers on this earth. Danger, death, defeat, death. Everyone seems to be declaring for the powers given to these rulers, that they may keep on with their powers, not denuded of their powers, but the promise is until all humanity. Unto all humanity. My spirit shall not forever be humbled in thee. I will rise. I will be exalted. This is the day of the 10. It is the number of the great resurrection, and the people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day. Number 9 stands for joy in our own responsive God point. All peace and plenty. Ooh, that's a good one. The Jews of old had the joy of peace and plenty. They have it now. They offered it to the early Christians as the way of their God with all people, according to the inspirations recorded in their sacred books. The inspired Jesus of the Jewish religion offered it to the Christians, saying, "Search the scriptures." But they ran away from inspirations of the sacred books and got up in their own text, poverty and penance. So the Christians have had to struggle with poverty, working themselves day and night, and practicing some way of penance for success in fighting poverty whenever success has crowned their strenuousness, or cowering under poverty or penance all the days, ignoring peace and plenty. They have rejected the generous beneficence of him who giveth riches and addeth no sorrow, whose yoke is easy and whose burden is light. Did Emma just take Christians to task? Oh, yes, she did. Yes, she did. She just said, hey, you know what? Search the scriptures. It's available to you. And yet the Christians ran away and wrote their own book. What? Oh, I love Emma. Did I know she took the Christians? I mean, it's only one paragraph, but still. Man. Oh, man, I love Emma. I love her. Oh, I did not know that she did that. That's really awesome. Okay. Yep. Number 10, calling again our attention to our native majesty, brings back to the joyous God itself its original I, the Lord give, and I, the Lord taketh away. This 10th lesson teaches us to start over again at our hidden memra and sound it forth till the earth shall hear and repeat the anthem, singing with the 24 elders of Revelation. We give thee thanks because thou hast taken to thyself thy great power and hast reigned. I dropped my highlighter and highlighted my ankle. The silent memra, or vak, language of the wordless knowing deep within us all, is that language coming to speech soon after being noticed as incontrovertible verity. Look to the rock whence ye are hewn. Look to the hidden center where the innermost Lord and the highest Lord are one. Oh, our one Lord. Victor Hugo found himself being taught by his hidden memra, or original genius. Oh, original genius. Okay. Here we go. There it is. If we go back far enough into our own crypt or hidden super self, we find our own genius, like Victor Hugo's, waiting our bold expression. Victor Hugo wrote about the mysteries because his hidden self knew the mysteries as our hidden self knows mysteries. Mysteries which we may tell forth as new music or new life comes to register on our outer forms, as everything we declare soon registers on our outer forms. How can it as yet be told so that the world will practice it, that we can willfully lift up ourselves free from ourself, till lightness of weight and flawlessness of bodily condition are registered on the locus standi, or bodily self we manifest to the world? How can it be told so that people will participate in breathing those white breaths ever near us, which contain the quickening of our vital interiors, till come Holy Spirit, heavenly dove, with thy quickening powers, is to us no longer just a rhythmic figure of speech, but a white tonic to be drawn in by the nostrils. Who is there to make it a practical reality to us that we have given to disease, death, defeat, all the power they have, and that any time we choose, we can take back to ourselves that power till disease, defeat, death cannot be found. Wow. When the cruelty that claims to be inherent in the beast of humanity gets aroused, it runs away with it. Even when woman, the compassionate of humankind, lets slumbering cruelty get going, she laughs at the anguish of other human beings. So other slumbering traits within us being unleashed are sure to get the better of us and run us their way. We give them power to ruin our happiness or augment it. Notice the power we give to people to hurt our feelings. Now we are taught to take back the power we have given them to hurt our feelings and to start over again, putting something to work for us, as Nineveh took away the power he had heretofore given the haughty nobles and rulers of Jerusalem, and started them to building for him the walls of the house of the Lord. When our secret eternal God genius, the Nineveh trait, whom Jehovah comforts and starts over again with the nobles and rulers, now denuded of their ever-flowing power to hurt, we set them into their rightful business of forwarding our hidden lordship's great work of transfiguring the world. Be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. They that standeth steadfast in their heart doeth well. Stand to the Nehemiah lordship inherent in your breast, until it gets going and denudes all cruelty of its seemingly well-rooted nativity. Every plant that my spirit, my original, hath not planted shall be rooted up. Now we know to take back the power we have given to our emotions to capsize our peace of mind with grief or fear or joy, and to start them over again with new working efficiency, as the Tishbite started 3 mighty kings in the Edomite valley centuries before our era. Now we know that the Tishbite, thus ruling his special nobles and rulers, was foretype of our own giving unto and taking back. Emotions, power to hurt, and giving power only to the proper work of setting the miracles of God to showing forth wherever we walk. I have overcome the world is our God-rooted plant, discovered upon taking back the power we once gave to hurt and emotion. It proclaims our secret right to rule, no matter how hidden by grief or anger, those terrible emotions winding always into disease and death wherever they are allowed to rule. Interesting. She's talking about emotional control here. Our hidden gnosis tells us that to sing as if we were the singer, while knowing that it is the singer within who really sings, is to have the new song put into our mouths, according to ancient prophecy. I will sing a new song unto thee. Our hidden gnosis tells us that to fight in life's battles as though we were the fighter, while knowing that it is the hidden warrior who fights, is to have the new warrior rise up with mystic overpowering, so that nation shall never rise up against nation again forevermore. A warrior in white shall appear in the 10th avatar as the promise. The mystic warfare of the warrior in white is already begun, and they shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain. In the 10th avatar, I will work a work whereat all people shall marvel. This is the announcement of the Lord integrity within me, my Gnosis. There is to be a new doctrine revealed to humanity. It is to come shining forth like a new star in an early morning sky, like a view of the now unseen world that lies adjacent, exposed by some as yet undiscovered telescopic crystal. There is a throne, one above the sheep and the goats, above the pairs of opposites, love and hate, peace and strife, truth and error. That throne one hath promised, I will show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. I have given thee an eye divine, with which to look toward me, and then behold my works with thee. All the doctrines that humanity have fought for and lived by have been swirled around their views of good and evil, truth and error, spirit and matter, and the differentiations of these as desirabilities and undesirabilities, blessings and menaces. With slight attention paid to the inspirations of the upward watchers, these views of the pairs of opposites have flung all people into the opposing currents of joy one moment and anguish the next, peace of body and mind 1 hour and pain of body and mind the next hour, the choppy sea of human mutation. The promises vouchsafed to the upward watchers have been enumerated, but upward watching toward the high deliverer has slipped the practice of humanity. Therefore, the most glorious doctrine is not yet expressed. We must do the mystical will of the high eternal. Look unto me, an allotted term, to be sensitive to the new ineffable mysteries. And ye shall live and know and be strong, and nothing shall by any means hurt you, comes to pass by upward visioning. We must give the mystical will its heaven-allotted turn. To experience immuneness from decay, weakness, ignorance, hurting power, there is to be a new doctrine concerning reality and unreality, a doctrine that will hit the confidence of all humanity with the self-evidence of the homely axiom: the whole is equal to the sum of all its parts. Is the doctrine of the unreality of matter as self-evident as the whole is equal to the sum of all its parts? The Hindus have, for centuries, maintained the non-est of all external things. What seems external exists not at all. We read in their Lanka Vatara. In case you want to look it up, Lanka, next word, Vatara. By such doctrine, I am not in a pulpit preaching. There is no church and no pulpit. Jesus never walked in Galilee. There never was any Galilee to walk in. This is a blasphemous belief, said a great divine before a London congregation. Now we're not sure what side she's falling on here. Okay. Kumra of Tibet, Coomra, second name, Sami of Tibet, could make the trees and rocks and hills disappear before the eyes of Hensoldt, the level-headed German traveler. This was evidence enough to Kumra Sami that the trees and rocks and hill were the insubstantial pageant of sense delusion. But when his hypnotic spell was off the German traveler's eyesight, the trees and rocks resumed their wonted appearance, and the centuries-old hills are still standing. The endurance and substantiality of matter were more surely demonstrated by the operations of the sage of Tibet than its non-existence, and the mystery of the hypnosis has never been fathomed. Only the promised new doctrine can open the sealed books of many such mysteries of human encounter. The mystery of God should be finished as it hath declared to its servants, the prophets. It's a quote. Your guess is as good as mine. Thus far, we have arrived, namely, that with the baptism of the alcest that falls from the heights, matter and evil undo their laws of action. But it is only by exalting the visional sense that we feel the alcest that looses matter's grip on the conditions of life and mind. It is therefore while facing thee that our lips open to say that with didactic firmness what seems external exists not at all. By the subtle touch of grace descending, disease unformulate. Okay, hang on. I'm going to try that again. By the subtle touch of grace descending, diseases unformulate. We are certain that my grace is sufficient for thee. We see its sufficiency before the words have been uttered forth. The genesis of all ideas is inward viewing or precept. The greatest ideas are generated by highest viewing. This is not a new teaching. In scholastic metaphysics, we read that the existence of ideas is subsequent to that of perception, and even implies perceptual cognition. So, the doctrine of the formulative power of vision is not the new doctrine foretold by the prophets, seers, and philosophers, but it closely precedes it, as the stiff insistence of the tremendous power of thought closely preceded the undoubtable insistence that inward vision gives mystical vitality to thought, and without inward vision the thought is sounding brass and tinkling cymbal. That's an interesting turn of phrase. The new doctrine, just at our gates, to follow close on the footsteps of the living verdity of attention upwards, is not one that is now already declared. It is the great and mighty thing which thou knowest not, as promised by the angel to Jeremiah 600 years before Christ, and by the angel of the Apocalypse 100 years after Christ. It is the hurrying of this new doctrine hitherward that is sweeping such multitudes of downward watchers out of sight. Did not Jesus promise that in the day of nations against nation, only those who should be found upward watching should be manifestly blessed? And in ancient mythology, do we not read that in the coming conflagration, only they who sees is saved? No insistence that I am strong and every whit whole can be found exhibiting strength and wholeness if the vision is still upon the body's misery claims. Only vision above the body can bring back over the track or the Tao of the vision the healing outcast of the heights. No insistence that I am victorious can bring victory if the inward vision is still resting upon the misfortunes and evil liabilities of existing affairs. Only attention to the highest best can work the best in our light into our life lot. Humanity alone of all the animals knows enough to seek their highest good at the highest source, and they look to their maker, wrote the mystically wise Lactantia Titus, tutor to the son of Constantine. Okay, so she said this word, no insistence on the I am victorious can bring victory if the inward vision still resting upon the misfortune and evil liabilities of existing affairs. What does that sound like to you? Don't focus on the problems, focus on the solutions. It's a really heavy way of saying it, but it's the same thing. It's like, if you're focused on the problems, all you're going to get is more problems. Focus on the solutions. That's what she's saying right there. That's pretty cool. Okay. I want to save that quote of that teacher. Okay. The 9th chapter in Mysticism brings to speech the I am God that glows with unquenchable light at the center of every living being. It shows that the highest Lord and the innermost Lord is one Lord. It shows that visioning high, we vision deep towards Christ in us, the hope of glory, whose is the power and might forever. This 10th chapter in Mysticism derives to the study Job. Oh, hang on. Let me try that sentence. You know what? I'm going to get a drink of water, and then we're going to try that sentence again. Okay, let's see. This 10th chapter in Mysticism drives to the sturdy Job declaration, I will maintain my cause. So much has been written by the sages of the ages concerning this matter of maintaining a once expressed conviction that we had better follow up to know the value of standing firm in the midst of the proud waters that sweep over the life of humanity, tempting to non-expression and forgetfulness. They that standeth steadfast in their heart doeth well, wrote Paul, as though some excellent work should outshow firm inward acknowledgement. Beware lest ye also fall from your own steadfastness, wrote Peter. Thou shalt be steadfast and shalt not fear, said Zophar the Namathite to the tormented Job, as though steadfastness to an inward believing spark would quench the smoke of fear. This is then the genesis of the urge, fear not. That is, if we are steadfast to stand by the central spark, I am God, that never dies in our bosom, fear will take flight itself. Thou shalt not fear is prophecy, not command. David calls his inward spark mine integrity within me. As Ezra calls it his sanctuary. Ezekiel called it the Lord's little sanctuary. They all agree that it is the indestructible element, the rock of mine heart in all humanity. And they all notice that it is the unworded logos, ever patiently waiting for the worded insistence of each of us without respect to persons. All right, hang on. I just want to read that again. Remember, logos is the Greek word for spirit, okay? And they all notice that it is the unworded logos, the unworded spirit, ever patiently waiting for the worded insistence of each of us, without respect of persons. Waiting for us to speak. Ask for what you want. Always ask for what you want. Because if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Any expression of the integrity rock, the believing point at the silent depth of our being, acts exonerally or beyond the limits of the bodily presence to affect the mind and nervous system of our associates. Did not Dr. Mayo of King's College, London, feel the exoneral influence or the influence beyond the limits of the bodily presence of certain people? Did not Pliny the Elder notice that some people's bodies shed forth medicinal influence? Inward God believing stays unspoken throughout the lifetime if one does not choose with firm choice to speak it forth. With expression of the integrity word, the law goes forth from Zion, and the word of the law from Jerusalem. Nothing resists firm inward maintenance of the rock-centered truth that lies so still, native to us all, waiting bold, silent utterance. All the people blessed those who dwell in Jerusalem, wrote a Hebrew prophet. He knew that those who stand by their noble convictions exert far-reaching influence. I believed, therefore I have spoken. I believed, therefore have I spoken, said Paul, whose exoneral influence woke multitudes to a new life in his generation, and whose influence proceeding forth to this day stirs the faith spark to shake the emotions as Felix shook or stirred a bold responsive I believe in others, strong in effect as was the convincing energy of the man at the Siloam pool. Confession of faith is an invigorating practice. I had fainted unless I had believed, said the king. I consulted with myself, and I built the walls of Jerusalem, reported the cupbearer of King Artaxerxes Longomontanus, when surrounding enemies crowded him back to his bedrock executiveness. It's Greek. The throne place in humanity is their rock, I believe. It is strange that people have not noticed their own unbreakable original, I believe. I, the Lord, with its wonderful exoneral masterfulness. Signs follow them that believe, said Jesus. The faces of the golden cherubims of the temple are always turned inwards. Cherubims are emblems of thoughts and senses. The senses get their cues and clues from inward believing, either as clouds and darkness of false believing or shining sparks of true believing. Is it not written that their own counsel shall cast them down? Do we not notice in life that the Napoleonic, I believe that God is on the side of the heaviest artillery, firmly casts its Napoleons on the sands of defeat? Such a believing is smoky believing, or a non-declaration of original believing. Okay. She was not a fan of Napoleon. When Nehemiah consulted with himself, he held his dialogue with the throne place of himself, not with the clouds and darkness around about that throne. He struck back to his Gnosis rock, where irresistible rulership abides forever in all people alike. Thought and sensation are the cherubims of our sanctuary, our temple. They train together. They experience all things of existence according to the depth towards which the vision turns, from which depth they draw their conclusions. With faces turned inward to the rock from which we are hewn, they draw from the Gnosis throne, independent of outward encounters, or, if self-recognition is not to the rock of I, the Lord, they draw from the trembling cloud of unknowing round about the throne of hidden knowing. At the throne place, the Zion center, our knowing and believing are one. I know who I have believed, said Paul. He is able. This was the believing that Jesus meant, the masterful executiveness of my integrity that is within me. Wonderful things are spoken of the indwelling Gnosis. Thou fillest with hid treasure. Let search be made in the king's treasure house. Who bath? Nope. No, it says bath. I don't think it's bath, though. Who hath put wisdom in the inward parts? It does say bath, though. I think it's a misprint. There have been interesting misprints in here, and I think that was one of them. Who hath put wisdom in the inward parts? Because who bath put wisdom in the inward part does not make sense. As I said, I promise I won't be boring. With high instruction as to the training of our senses and our thoughts towards the treasure house of our kingship, Isaiah enjoined, look unto the rock whence you are hewn, and to the hole of the pit whence ye are digged. Thus, without sequential preparation of that which builds thoughts and sensations, all the suddenly inspired of time have set their hand and seal to the precedence of looking faculty in all accomplishing and all experiencings. And they show how the exaltation of the mystic sense to the height is ever followed by its sure return to the sonship center. Childship center? The unlimited executive throned in humanity itself. Did not they that made that which is without make that which is within also? Nehemiah reported that only 1 out of 10 dwells at their own center, even among those who have been told the great gospel. And he seems to know why all the people who Okay, let me try that sentence again. And he seems to know why all the people bless those who willingly offer themselves to look towards their own Jerusalem center. It is because they, only of all the children of the gospel, send exonerally forth their integrities, resistless pulling power on waiting health, life, joy, wisdom. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with a hook? It was Qumran Sami's firm believing that shed blanking over the German traveler's senses. He believed in his own power to give manifestation and his own power to take away manifestation. But his firm believing was not the original Gnosis or holder of his own power at his throne place, for the effects of his believing was transient, while rivers of the everlasting flow from the hid place of our original knowing, our giving and taking rock. Behold, I will lay thy believings with fair radioactivity, is what Isaiah the prophet means by promising that our stones shall be laid with fair colors. When he writes of the sure foundation, the tried stone, he means the original believer and knower at our center, with its tremendous exoneral far preceding energies, world without end. To look to the rock whence we are hewn is to begin to say, in mine integrity within me I believe. I know that I and the Spirit are one. This was the liver force point of the Magi of old days, the lever force, the believer executive, never destroyed in any creature. Whoever has looked to this their own foundation stone and spoken according to its speech has proved its working force. I, Alfred Tennyson, said the young writer, when all the reviewers called his work drivel and nonsense, and most dismal drivel at that, and he shut himself alone with his I, Alfred Tennyson, for 10 years. At the end of that time, I, Alfred Tennyson, was pronounced the Prince of Song from one part of the world to another, in palace and hut, among the literati and the ignorant. For he that standeth steadfast in his heart doeth well. I, itself I, the whence and the whither, the what and the why, I, itself I, wrote forth one who had looked to the original rock, the pit of the unlimited self, and such victories over the world's opposition as this I, itself I, wrought forth are the wonder of the new age. Mozart felt the music of the land adjacent, and with joyous confidence he offered his inspired pages to a publisher. I will not pay you a penny for such music, said the publisher. Then, my good sir, I must resign myself to die of starvation, answered young Mozart. And he did. Notice what power he gave the refusal of money. Notice what power he gave lack, deprivation. It has been pronounced a lasting disgrace to that land of Mozart's birth that his death and burial were like a pauper's closing down. But were they? On the principle of the propulsive strength of inward believing, how could his contemporaries hold up against such positive steel needles of propulsion as his dangerous inward dialogue gendered? He did not remember that, for we are made partakers with victorious Christ, if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast unto the end. Plato spoke of a handwriting on the liver in humanity. That was as near as he could express himself on what Job discovered as wisdom in the inward parts. By this we see that Job was nearer gathering his cherubims, or senses and mind, to the inward knower than Plato. The Greeks did have funny ideas about where things were. All right. Handwriting on the liver of humanity. Ezekiel the prophet tells how the king of Babylon consulted the livers of his responsive animals to read how it was proceeding with his own outward affairs. The death of Alexander the Great and also of his general Hephaestion was foretold by the livers of their animals, acted upon exonerally by these great men's inward dialogue. How much they needed to know that they could take back the power they gave to the liver records and decree life renewing, which the next animal would register. Everything and everybody not braced to independence by looking to their own original knowing and believing rock gets under the projective force of the inwardly stronger among the cloud and darkness believers. That is, under the exonerable power of their propulsive neighbors. Ooh. That's pretty important. Much of the healing done in this age is accomplished by the strongest holder of a healing believing. When the person who believed themselves aided by the great red dragon of the scriptures cured so many ailing people in England, was his believing based upon the original rock of truth or on a stiffly maintained conviction outside his original gnosis? Was it not from the cloud and darkness round about his deep I know? When a certain woman cured so many sick people by the influence of an invisible Indian attendant, was she strong in original truth or sturdily believing outside its inward throne? That is, outside her I gave power to the Indian, I can take the power to myself and need nothing but my own far-extending right decree to cure my neighbors. That was the light that lighteth every person that cometh into the world. Nobody doubts its word when it expresses itself. From deep to deep, the world around each answers, I know that. This 10th chapter urges the finding of the I know. George Eliot declared that she was possessed by an inward demon of despair when she wrote Romola. This was her dangerous consultation with cloud and darkness believing, held firmly till its exonerable effect affected all the people who read the book. They caught a touch of her inward despair. Napoleon's false believing worked with strong influence on his responsive soldiers, till at Waterloo in Belgium, 1815, his believing that God was on the side of the heaviest artillery broke down. For every plant that my spirit hath not planted shall be rooted up. Napoleon's plant was never planted in our spirit. Our spirit's plant reads, not by might, and not by army, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. The Holy Spirit is the radio in extensio of God. The Holy Spirit revives, instructs, empowers, defends. It is the radio in extensio of all who look to their own inward integrity root and rest on its victory shedding, I believe, I know. And believing is stirred by seeing. Dr. Evans, the great healer, could, with inward vision, see so plainly the action of the medicatrix nature in sick people that he could say with bold confidence, you are being healed. And they would hurry into health. He began to see in himself the action towards himself of the exoneral energy of some who conceived of him as a menace to their own precedents. Having no vision towards the unhurtable me at his inward foundation, he perished. Okay. Thus, the far-reaching influence of the mistaken conceptions of his persistent enemies found workable soil in Evans. See how great a defense from damage it is to have a boldly declared inward conviction of the undestroyable me. He that believeth in me hath everlasting life. Let us take today to look unto the rock whence we are hewn, and to the hole of the pit which we are jigged. First time she quoted it, she said dig. This time she said jigged. Again, it could be a printing error. I'm not sure. I'm not sure in this context, because she says weird things. But, all right, let's go with it. Let us take today to look unto the rock whence we are hewn, and to the hole of the pit which we are digged. Let it be nothing to us how badly or how goodly human activities are secretly or openly dealing with us. The more executiveness they show, the stronger the call for our looking to the rock where I believe in myself as the undefeatable Lord of the harvest. When Paul discovered that Timothy at Ephesus was always breaking down under the secret criticisms of the Ephesian Christians, He wrote to him, urging him to take heed unto himself and to continue in his doctrine. For in doing this thou shalt both save thyself and them that hear thee. And obedient Timothy looked to the rock whence he was hewn, and strengthened up by restating his original believing and his original knowing, to such a degree that he ceased from ofttimes falling into sickness and tears of discouragement, and drew the Ephesian church with him into an invigorating center of divine ministry. Paul wrote to little Titus, the terrified preacher to the Cretans, who celebrated liars of Homer's time and of Paul's time, speak thou of things which become sound doctrine, sound of speech which cannot be condemned, that he that is of contrary part may be ashamed, that they which have believed in God might be careful to maintain good works. And Titus maintained his rock integrity so robustly that he stopped the lying of the Cretan Christians, made his own instructions their guide, and his name their watchword for more than 100 years. Like attracts like. No person can come to me except the Spirit that is within me draw them. Whew. Father is sometimes mentioned as faither, the integrity rock of my God faith, my believing center, my inward knowing point. The artist draws artists around them. The musician draws players upon instruments and singers of sweet tunes. The sound in doctrine draw around them lovers of sound doctrine. The great draw the great. The greatly draw great lovers of truth. The integrity healed strike forth integrity health, as flint and steel strike forth sparks. By the practice enjoined by the 9th chapter, we pay attention to the Judah angel of humanity's presence, and the Judah angel of their presence glows and invigorates the Joseph human of their presence, till only the sound, sane, powerful child of the everlasting Spirit stands visibly before us. It is the Magian ministry to use our power to draw forth the Judah self of humanity. Often the Joseph self, the external mind and bodily frame show forth the perturbation. Yeah, I know that word. Hang on. Drink. We'll get a drink. Ooh. We're getting close. We're getting close. Okay. Often the Joseph self, the external mind and bodily frame show forth the perturbations of readjustment, as the sun breaking through the clouds causes a hurrying and scurrying of the clouds, but the sun wins hitherward its shining face. So the disorders of flesh and mind hurry and scurry for the sun of righteousness with the healing of its wings to glow in face and form of neighbor. When the sun has won its glorious way, the clouds cannot be found. They have been lost in sunshine. Thus, all excitements of mind and body disappear. The emotions of fear and anger, grief and distrust, jealousy and greed subside. The pains and sicknesses of the body, rage and hurt anew, then disappear. Does that mean it gets better before it gets worse? No, it gets worse before it gets better. What? Okay, hang on. Let's go on. Let's get... Whatever the bedrock truth is real... Whatever of bedrock truth is real to us is soon real to our neighbors. Though their dissensions rage, they are sure to show forth health and strength as signals of agreement. Is it not written that Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels, but the dragon and his angels fought amongst themselves, till they could not be found? So do the clouds hurry and scurry among themselves till they cannot be found. As nothing of cloud has hurt the sun, so nothing of dissension has hurt the shining me of our neighbor. They feel our recognition of the immortal and victorious Spirit of God glowing through them, and straightway they forget their old sensations. To obey the command, "Look unto me," is to be a stir up of seditions among the sensations and thoughts of our associates, like Paul among the people of Jerusalem, when by carrying the victorious name in his heart, he caused a great uproar among them. Paul was not found disputing with any person, yet they called him a pestilent fellow. He did not try to set the people to quarreling, and yet he was arrested as a stir-up of seditions. Ezra, the reformer, nearly 700 years before Paul's time, wrote, "I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war." Ezra could not even speak peace in his secret heart without setting his neighbors to wrangling. The secret heart set for shining peace stirs up the cloud thoughts of people. But peace is a ruler, as the sun is a ruler. "My peace I give unto you," said Jesus, "and families shall become excited, and friends shall argue as their former thoughts begin to let go. But I will not cease calling, come ye blessed of my spirit. Let them that standeth for the might of peace, ever abiding as the masterful at their secret throne, not give way to the turmoils of mind or matter. Let there be firmness in the heart. Let there be firmness in the heart. Keep to the key science, as the true singer in a choir of voices keeps the key note, regardless of the voices out of tune. If the true singer loses the key, the choir's music becomes dissonance. If the true singer maintains the key, all the other voices come to accord. It is inexorable truth that maintaining the throne science is standing at the successful point of our being. Standing on our original conviction that God reigns, we find that what seems to be punishment for sin Standing on our original conviction that God reigns, we find that what seems to be punishment for sins is unformulation of the framework of false notions. Is it not a false notion that peace is only victorious by killing those who offend against peace? Yet this is the position taken century after century by the teachers and leaders of the easily beguiled children of earth. Ooh. At the siege of Leyden was a little handful of helpless people obliged to slay the crews of the Spanish battleships in order to be victorious. No, the people of Leyden prayed till they struck back to the rock place of their original confidence in victorious peace, and the menacing Spanish fleet disappeared. Is the law of the rulership of our throne place abrogated? No. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight. Is everlastingly true of the throned Christ in people. The time is ripe to stand for the I, Christ, in you, and the hope of glory, the mystical mystery of mine integrity within me, taking back the power we gave to fighting for peace, and giving forth peace for fighting. If thou wouldest believe me, thou shouldest see the glory of God. In the presence of death, the supposed world conqueror, there was a greater master, feeling the far radiance of the living spirit, his own original self, and death let go its clutches, and the soldiers of the Roman legions fell on their faces before him. Watch ye, stand fast in the faith, quit you like people, be strong, for the angel of the Lord doeth wondrously. We all believe in this divine law of action at our own original believing point. Let us inwardly say so. Let us maintain the secret word of our own original knowing till it demonstrates beyond ourselves by its own external or far-reaching energy. Exoneural. I don't know if that's a real word or not. And I'm definitely getting tired, which is why I'm having trouble pronouncing it. I know what it means. You know, it's exit, but still. When the head of a nation declares that the only pillar upon which their nation rests is their army, can they expect their pillar to endure? Must they not eventually feel the army pillar cracking under the weight of a nation's leaning? The leader of a nation has a great opportunity. The more they are revered, the more gladly their people believe as they believe. Let them declare with the original believing common to themselves and their people, as the king of Judah declared before his army, leading them to an incredible victory. Believe in the Lord your God, so shall ye be established. Believe its prophets, so shall ye prosper. If the whole world is hidebound in its cloud and darkness believing, the whole world will be in hurrying and scurrying of unformulation when the silent few shed forth the mastering beams of their firm confidence in the Lord as the only defense of the world. They know their kingship because they know that the highest Lord and the innermost Lord is one Lord. But call to remembrance the former days in which, after ye were illuminated, ye endured a great fight of affliction, wrote Paul to the Hebrew Christians, hidebound in their old believings. Felix trembled at the preachings of Paul, but did not tremble hard enough to unformulate defeat and death. The Swami Vivekananda trembled in the silent presence of a believing guru till he unformulated all the false notions that hugged him down. The notions made him sick in body and hysterical in mind as they hurried to disband. But the son of the guru's knowing that I in you Almighty won its way and made a shining light of the youthful Hindu. The hand of God hath touched me, said Job, when the perturbations of his mind and body and affairs of life threatened his utter destruction. But he came out as Job, the triumphant Lord of Ur. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. What made Daniel tremble thus into sickness and unconsciousness? An angel had touched him, reaching to the integrity within him, and Daniel rose up greater than the mind and body of his former self, and stood forth as revered head of the astonished Magi of Babylon. Balaam's body pained him, and his mind was angry and argumentative. What had stirred the thoughts of Balaam's mind to fury and the state of his body to pain? The presence of a shining angel standing in the way. Balaam calmed down upon agreeing with the angel's message and lost himself and his pains in tranced sight of the star of Jacob, the bright Messiah of time to come. Many a sickness and many a mental resentment would subside, leaving a believer with wholesome health. if the pangs of their unformulation had not frightened the preacher of the truth. See how much more radio extensio the stiff believer in their troubles exercises than the gentle Timothy-like preacher of the truth sometimes brings to bear. Let the Timothy type retire them to their closet, and looking to the rock whence they are hewn, the original I believe and I know in themselves. Let them state again, silently and firmly, I gave power to opposition. I take back to myself the power I gave to opposition. Ooh. You know what? That needs to be written on everybody's door before they leave out, before they go do anything. I gave power to opposition. I take back to myself the power I gave to opposition. Could we but stand where Moses stood and view the prospects over, not Jordan's stream nor death's cold flood could frighten us from the shore. The rough river Jordan was the dividing line between the Hebrews as slaves in a foreign land and their establishment in their own country as a free nation. There is a dividing line between being caught in the machinery of the terrifying non-statement of the inward knowing and the standing freeborn and masterful in the silent insistence of what I inwardly believe and know. This is our Jordan 10th. Notice how the people came up out of Jordan on the 10th. Notice how firm Joshua told the people to sound the trumpet of the Jubilee on the 10th. All people with some inward believing from which they never swerve, finding things of nature and affairs of life entering into league with them. Peter was told that heaven would stand by his bindings and his loosings, making his speech to work miracles. Because his original believing had expressed itself, Peter sensed his own I gave power and I take away power. He felt what Jesus had announced. I have overcome the world. Elijah, the prophet, astonished the Zarephath woman by the miracles his speech effected. Others had spoken the same words, but they had accomplished nothing. Elijah had held the divine dialogue unswervingly, I, the man of God. The wife of Manoah was not overthrown by her husband's declaration that they had seen God and therefore they must die. She stood sturdily by the plant of our Spirit's planting to see him. What? Hang on. Let me try this again. The wife of Manoah was not overthrown by her husband's declaration that they had seen God and therefore they must die. She stood sturdily by the plant of our Spirit's planting, that to see God is to live. And she brought forth Samson, the strongest man Israel ever produced. He had the sternest legislative ability and the boldest executiveness Israel had ever confronted. The anarchist majority were held in awed subjugation by his masculine masterfulness, and the marauding nearby tribes fled at the sight of him. Something Samson great is always the outcome of boldly maintaining the Gnosis, or deeper wisdom born with us. Job accomplished great things by steadfastly beholding towards the face of the transcending Almighty and daringly proclaiming, Thy hands fashioned me. Is not the root of the matter in me? I, in you, is the plant indestructible. It is the rock of refuge in the day of calamity. It waits the Moses smiting of my oft-time stern insistence, till what I am in mine integrity within me masters me wherever I walk. And that's enough to make me go, what'd you just say? Or, as Gary Coleman used to say, what you talking about, Willis? What you talking about, Emma? Our own secret text gives its color, clue, and climax to our life affairs. I believe God reigns, said a young man with his heart in his voice. Every business he undertook failed under his hands without his once flinching from his rooted conviction. At last, one failure more disastrous than the preceding nearly choked off his I believe. But he rallied and uttered it forth again. A miracle suddenly turned the scales. Suddenly he was as victorious as David of Judah. If he had neglected that last utterance of his believing, he could not have entered into the miracle, for it was by looking up and protesting, I still believe God reigns, that he was suddenly given the miracle of new heaven prospered conditions. In the morning sow thy seed, said Solomon, and in the evening withhold not thy hand. For thou knowest not whether shall prosper either this or that. Unswerving maintenance of inwardly planted truth to the time of its outer demonstration is symbolized by the cryophasous stone, the apple green stone of a fresh new earth, or in new outward conditions among our associates and their affairs. The invariable resultants of our silent dialogue, I, the Lord. No matter what adversities face us, they are breakable under the ministry of inward truth, invariably stated in trouble or in peace. If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. That is, great strength will not show forth by standing to and practicing flinching. Okay. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. We hanged our harps upon the willows, for there they that wasted us required of us mirth. But if I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. Through savage enmity and perpetual misfortune, though savage enmity and perpetual misfortune seem our portion, let us not forget the Jerusalem rock self, whence we are hewn, and its gushing waters of goodly miracles, and our rightful portions forever. We must not forget our Zion lawgiver, though our emotions seem nearly to wreck us. Get thee to the prophets of thy father and to the prophets of thy mother, cried an angry Elisha to the king of Israel who had insulted him. But suddenly Elisha remembered that his mission was to bless, and he blessed the king Joram and his two friends with heavenly victories. There is a voice within us, inaudible till made audible by our definite insistence. So in other words, the still small voice is there until we listen. And this voice shaketh not the earth only, but also heaven, said Paul, and signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken, though that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. And they said unto him, Master, where dwellest thou? And he said unto them, Come and see. And they came and saw where he dwelt, and abode with him that day, for it was about the 10th hour. I in you. From the beginning it has been written that the priests of integrity shall wear clothing of aura, of salvation, till all flesh shall transform and all mind shall renew, as heavenly external of their definitely stated inward conviction, not of sin, but of the mighty believer in each person, Lord of its own environments, knower of the final doctrine, seer of itself as self-existent deity, giving life to the faint by taking away the downward crowding power of faintness and decreeing strength, inaugurating peace by withdrawing the power of war and decreeing peace. These signs shall follow them that consulteth with themselves, taking to themselves their scattered power to reign as a new worker in a new dispensation. Take heed, therefore, unto yourselves and to all the flock, over which the Holy Ghost hath made you overseers. And just a final note that final line, the Holy Ghost bath made you overseers. I think it's a printing weird. I think the way that H is printed, because I think they're using a different font that makes it look like bath. I know it's half, but it still looks like bath, and it's just weird. And it's a weird way to end the chapter, but there we are. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what do you think the title of this chapter might be. I'm kind of leaning towards, let me find the beginning of the chapter. Nope, that's chapter 9. Too far back. Oh, there we go. Where was it? I think I had it. I thought about going with the mystic self, but nope. I think this 10th lesson teaches us to start over again. Original genius. I think I'm going to go with original genius. I think that's what I'm going to go with. So, all right. That was chapter 10. I don't know. It's interesting because she starts one place and ends another and kind of wraps back onto herself, but then it's still weird the way she ends, and you're just kind of like, what, where are you going? And she tells you stories to provide proof of what she's talking about, and then you're like, and she tells you stories of people that, like, I've never heard of, and I'm wondering if I could Google them, but I don't know. So, I don't know. All right. Well, that was EMMA CURTIS HOPKINS, Chapter 10, Ministry. I think I am going to go with Original Genius. Or Gnosis. Original Gnosis. Gnosis Rock. Original Genius, Gnosis Rock. So, yeah. But here we are. So I'm going to get off this so that David can get on and do his stuff whenever he's going to do it. And I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, and we will be back to A Hidden Power of the Bible. But, as I said, Chapter 10, EMMA CURTIS HOPKINS, Ministry. It was a ride.